Welcome back to In Ohio Country today, and we're here at RODOC Trailers at their St. Mary's location. And with me today is Ayden Francis. Ayden is here with RODOC and one of the representatives. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for coming out. We're going to be looking at some dump trailers today, seeing kind of what fits everybody's needs. We kind of got a little bit for everybody here, and we'll kind of just go through them down the row here and see what's going to fit what your best needs are. So first thing first, we're going to want to know what size you're going to need, what you're loading in there, figure out what kind of payload range, if you need a 3,000 pound payload, 5,000 pound payload, 7,000 pound, 10,000, 12,000, how heavy do you truly need? Because we don't want to sell you something that's way overboard than what you need, and we don't want to sell you something that's not enough. And then we also kind of want to look at what you're pulling it with. You got, a half-ton truck, 3/4 ton. We want to make sure you got an adequate pulling power for the trailer you're hooking up to. So that's really the main things we look into is, what you're hauling, how heavy that is, and what you're pulling it with.
Well, that's what this is all about. The buying experience here at RODOC Trailers is you folks are experts, and you have a lot of options. You have options for everybody that maybe needs a dump trailer once a month, and for the guy who needs it daily and is heavy hauling with dump trailers.
Definitely. We got like your homeowners, then we got like your economical, budget-friendly trailers, and then of course we got your commercial grade contractor trailers to fit all sorts of needs for what you're using it for best.
Well, not only that, but you represent some of the best manufacturers of these dump trailers in the business.
Oh, definitely. All of our manufacturers, a lot of them are local, especially like Mort's. They're right out of Ohio here. Definitely well-made, high-quality dump trailers is what we have here.
When we start talking about dump trailers, and you have a wide selection here, they come in many configurations, many ways to attach them to your vehicle, and many ways that the dump mechanisms operate.
Definitely. I mean, you got, 3 different ways that your lifting mechanisms can go with your telescopic, your scissor hoist, and then of course you got dual rams, single rams. And they all have their own purpose for what you're using it for, on what's going to work best. And yeah, we try to stock about a little bit of everything. That way we have options for what customer base we're working with.
When we talk about different sizes, it's interesting. It was made mention earlier, somebody said something about you even have a trailer that you can put behind an ATV.
Oh, definitely, yeah. The 4.5x8 SureTrack, great homeowner. You can go through the trails, but you can also load up your side-by-side on the back of it. Your little four-wheeler, drive it straight on up there. It works great for everything.
So, Ayden, when you're going to buy a trailer and you go to look, why would I decide that I want a telescopic dump or a scissor lift on my dump trailer?
Part of it just depends on what you're going to load in there, what your load is. If you're going to be front heavy on some of your loads, you're going to really want that telescopic lift because it gives you the most power up front. If you're using dirt and, some wetter sediment and stuff like that, you're going to want that telescopic because that scissor can struggle a little bit when you're front heavy. But then if you're doing, a little bit heavier stuff like concrete and you got a lot of weight on the center there on your axles, you're going to want that scissor hoist because it's right there in the center. Give that most lifting power right there in the center where you need that power. So it really depends on what you're loading into there and what objects you're doing. If you're doing a little bit of everything, dirt, concrete, everything, the telescopic's great because it gives all the power up front there and it never really seems to struggle on any loads.
So one thing that I would say that a lot of these trailers have for different feature and benefits. Obviously, it's you got fifth wheel and you got bumper hitch. You've got all those kind of options. Nick had mentioned that one of the trailers has some ramps built into it.
Definitely, yeah. Our 4.5x8 SureTrack is gonna have ramps built into the front and the rear, so you can load your four-wheeler up, but you can also unload it and toss some logs in front of it, and then pull it with your ATV that you just unloaded off of it. So it works great for everything, has those features, so it's great around the farm. If you got small woods, you got to log some wood up front, you can put your four-wheeler on there, go back there, and it'll work for you.
When we talk about, you have different name brands, you have different trailer manufacturers. You want to just give us a brief rundown on the trailer brands that you have here, so that if our viewers are looking at somebody else somewhere else, they know that they can come here and see about what brands you have here.
Sure, definitely. The top 2 brands we got here is going to be SureTrack and Mort's. SureTrack has a wide variety on what they offer, anywhere from a 7x16 heavy duty all the way down to the 4.5x8 that I just talked about. And then we also have Mort's. Mort's is going to be more of our commercial grade trailer. The smallest they're going to make is a 6x10, and then they're going to go all the way up to a 7x14. They're just a little bit heavier running I-beam frame, and then they do torsion axles. It's a high grade trailer, especially with the aluminum loading ramps. Like if you're loading a skid loader, it's great for that use. And then we also just took in Punch trailers. Punch is kind of our economical brand. Saves you a lot on the price. If you're just using it, a handful of times a year, there's no need, to go spend, $12,000 if you can spend, $9,000, because you're only going to use it a handful of times. You don't need to spend the full amount, and you're not doing anything real heavy with it, but it still gives you that size you need. So yeah, we got those 3 different brands. Kind of covers all bases typically. And then of course, if that doesn't work for you, we can always go up to a Trail Star, go up to commercial grade semi.
Well, that's right. Here at RODOC Trailers, you have all sizes. Not only the ones you can pull behind your pickup truck, but the one you can put behind your semi tractor as well.
Absolutely, yeah. We do Trail Stars, which are going to be that full stainless, anywhere from the 28 footers, 34 footer, frame styles, up to 39 foot frameless. Those we stock we try to do about 1 per location. We just got one in here recently, fresh on the lot, but yeah, they make a great trailer. And yeah, great for your semi needs.
Well, Ayden, it's important. People always want to find out more information before they come shopping. Where can they go?
Well, of course, you can go to rodoc.com to check out our website, check out our full inventory at all 3 locations. And you can also call us right here at St. Mary's at 419-394-4408.
Ayden, thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate it.